Welcome to The Scoop, NANP's monthly educational webinar series. I am your host, Andrea Granson, Educational Program Specialist for the NANP. These webinars are recorded and everyone who registered will receive a link to the recording. NANP members can earn 1 continuing education credit for participating in Scoop webinars by taking the corresponding quiz, which can be found in the membership area of the NANP website. Today's webinar will conclude with a Q&A session, so feel free to type in your questions as we go along so that we can get to as many as possible at the end of the presentation. Okay, so let's get started. Today's presenter is Dr. Jerry Curatola, a renowned biological restorative dentist with more than 37 years of clinical practice experience. In 1996, Dr. Curatola turned his interest to the human microbiome and the relationship of oral health to systemic wellness. He attended Harvard Medical School's program in complementary and alternative medicine from 1996 to 1997 and began his research on the biocompatibility of many dental materials, especially in oral care products. He is the co-inventor of the first prebiotic oral care formulation, Revitin, which is based on the emerging science of the oral microbiome. Dr. Curatola is the founder of Rejuvenation Dentistry, a multi-speciality integrative dental practice based on the principles of biological healthcare. Dr. Curtola's new book, The Mouth-Body Connection, explores the bi-directional relationship between oral health and systemic wellness. A television series is also under development based on this great topic. Welcome, Dr. Curatola. Thank you for joining us today, and it's over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Andrea. Thank you for that very lovely long introduction. I'm really excited to share this information. The oral microbiome is so essential, not just for the health of your mouth, but your whole body. As a matter of fact, oral health is what we like to say, the 800-pound gorilla in the wellness room. And for all you biohackers out there, you cannot biohack your body without biohacking your mouth. And I'm going to help you with that today. And hopefully you can share this with your clients and your patients, because dentistry is so important. But 150 years ago, they unplugged dentistry from the rest of the body. And they sent people like me, called dentists, to these schools where all we studied was the mouth and the gums. And then physicians, I was just telling the story this morning, there was a heart surgeon who was about to do open heart surgery on a patient who had major periodontal disease. It would have put him at a 10 times greater chance of a heart attack. It was so, as a matter of fact, bacteria from the mouth have been found in plaques and arteries around the heart. But because physicians never looked at the mouth, because as you can see on this cute little diagram, it's been unplugged, they didn't even think to check the patient's periodontal condition. I was telling this other patient this morning, I called the heart surgeon and I said, look, this guy's got advanced periodontal disease. He's not fit for any cardiovascular surgery because of the connection between the mouth and body. So it's kind of irrational. That's my first Bitmoji. So it's a little irrational that dentistry got unplugged, and it's time to put it back together, because what goes on in your mouth has a lot to do with the rest of your body. Gum disease is linked to everything from Alzheimer's to colorectal cancer. On the left, you see a diagram of healthy teeth and gums, and then you look at advanced gum disease, such as the patient who was cleared by his heart surgeon for open heart surgery with this kind of disease that basically can go all over the body. And yes, indeed, Porphyromonas gingivalis bacteria are related to Alzheimer's, arteriosclerosis, atherosclerosis, and diabetes. As a matter of fact, gum disease has a very close relationship to body health. Gum disease is related to everything from osteoporosis, stroke, Alzheimer's and dementia, cancer, respiratory disease, heart disease, diabetes, and rheumatoid arthritis, even colorectal cancer. The largest bacterium they found in colorectal tumors was Fusobacterium nucleatum, which becomes the most common bacteria in the mouth. Other statistics on the right: gum disease in men can make you 3 times more likely to be impotent, 14 times more likely to develop cancers. Cancer is a big thing. Diabetes. Women, it affects puberty and menstruation. During puberty and menstruation, there's increased gum inflammation, gingivitis, due to these hormonal shifts. Gum disease when you're pregnant, you're actually 7 times greater risk of having a preterm baby, and also other conditions like preeclampsia. 86% of women are more likely to develop gum disease postmenopausally. So let's talk about gum disease and cancer. This was from 2015. There's another 2018 study I think I have further on. Gum disease bacteria are a catalyst for cancer cell growth. So the whole concept here is that gum disease is a source of chronic inflammation, and that chronic inflammation is a form of deregulation and disease, and the end stage of that is cancer. So contrary to what many people believe, that so-and-so caught cancer, like Susie got breast cancer or Tommy got prostate cancer, you don't get cancer. Your body's fighting cancer every day. And when this immune system gets deregulated, and when we build up a large amount of uncontrolled low-grade inflammation, this is the kindling for what could become cancer. So how much cancer? Well, gum disease can increase your risk of breast cancer, lung cancer, esophageal cancer, gallbladder cancer, melanoma, skin cancer, and as I said before, colorectal cancer. And men who have gum disease have a 67% higher incidence of pancreatic cancer. Lots of cancers related to gum disease. Why is that? Well, because the mouth acts as a mirror and gateway to everything that's going on in the body. I wrote this book because chronic low-grade oral disease is a major source, as a matter of fact, the body's largest source of chronic inflammation in the whole body. And that inflammation results in serious problems. As I said, cancer, cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, obesity, premature birth, like we spoke about before. The father of the mouth-body connection, which many of you at NANP, I'm sure you know and admire, the work of Dr. Weston Price. To me, Dr. Weston Price is probably the most important dentist that ever lived. He's not only the Charles Darwin of nutrition, but he founded the research arm of the American Dental Association. And in 1917, this is a reprint from presentation that Dr. Price made to the St. Louis Dental Society. In 1917, he was talking about the relationship of mouth infection to systemic disease. This whole mouth-body connection, and incidentally, he was scoffed at, he was laughed at. They couldn't conceive that a tooth infection was linked to all different infections in the body. And now we know, and the proof is there, and this is probably the most important connection. You know, we talk about the mind-body connection, the mouth-body connection is essential. We know the mouth acts as a mirror to the body, that is approximately 80 to 90% of systemic disease has signs in the mouth. But we also look at infections in the mouth and the relationship to the rest of the body in the meridians that each tooth has to your whole body. So I like to tell patients this tooth-organ relationship of energetic meridians. I explain it this way, that your teeth are actually circuit breakers for the energetic shield in different parts of your body. So if you remember the TV show Star Trek, and when the shields are up, the Klingons fire a missile and it bounces off of the spaceship. But when the shields are down, the ship is vulnerable to damage from alien attack. And that's exactly what goes on in the human body. Our body has a biologic immune system, and then our body has an energetic immune system, an energetic protective system where there is a shield around our organ systems all throughout the body. And we find that when one of these circuit breakers of these teeth connected to the body is flipped off, we often see patients at risk. As a matter of fact, a friend of mine from Texas, Dr. Stuart Nunnally, did a study on over 300 women with breast cancer, and he found that that over 80, I think it was 87 to 90% had a root canal on one or the upper right or the upper left back molars. And if you look on this tooth organ relationship, you can see that connection. Now, did that root canal cause the cancer? Well, possibly in one way, but more probably, that tooth organ relationship of that tooth being the circuit breaker for the energy shield around that organ system was probably flipped off. And I've witnessed this as a biologic dentist for many years now. I've witnessed patients recovering when we deal with serious infections in the mouth. Your tongue is also a great sign of Chinese medicine. They read the tongue all the time. Everything from vitamin deficiencies to even lymphoma or psoriasis or candida infections. All of these have signs in the mouth, including cancer. But more often, we see the mouth equally as important as a gateway, and it's a very big gateway to disease in the whole body. Two tracks that gum disease has with your body is a digestive tract or bloodstream. So yes, oral pathogens, which we once believed that oral pathogens in the mouth, bad bacteria in the mouth, couldn't make it past the hydrochloric acid in your stomach. But in fact, we found that's not true. And the other way, in bleeding gums, we actually have pathogens that can get into the circulatory system, and they cause a ravaging amount of inflammation throughout the body. As a matter of fact, gum disease bacteria trigger the liver to release C-reactive proteins, which has an inflammatory effect. Another interesting thing is that these gum disease bacteria have the capability of changing the body to a more pro-inflammatory genotype. And there is all kinds of a cascade of inflammatory events that eventually can even lead to, as we said, cancer. And one of the biggest connections from the mouth to the rest of the body is not just gum disease, but there are infected root canal teeth are a source of chronic inflammation. Metal implants are being discovered, these titanium implants are being discovered to actually be a source of inflammation to the whole body. But another very interesting and now widely talked about mouth-body connection are these stealth infections known as jaw cavitations. So a jaw cavitation, which you may have heard of, is an unhealed hole in the human jawbone, often caused by an extracted tooth. As a matter of fact, there's estimates of 86% of people who had their wisdom teeth removed may have a cavitation or an unhealed hole where the jawbone never fully grew back. The significance of that is that these can become a petri dish for all kinds of pathogens to harbor. Lyme spirochetes, we found, have a huge propensity for harboring here. Mold, candida, parasites, heavy metals have been found in these areas. So on the left of this diagram, you can see a schematic of what a cavitation looks like. So you see on the top of that, there is, if I move my cursor here, you can see there's bone on the top. And then there's this unhealed area, which on the x-ray, a lot of dentists say, oh, there's just a loss of bone there. It looks like there's a loss of bone. And on the right, that's what it looks like when the gums are retracted away from the area. It's an actual hole that never healed. Root canals are a source of these cavitations as well. So on the left, you see an endodontically treated tooth with a very bad root canal filling. And a lot of dentists believe that, a root canal, you can refill it and it will be okay. But that same tooth that's filled on a 3D X-ray shows up in the diagram to the right. Hope none of you were eating lunch or dinner, but that's what that hole looks like in a surgical retraction of the gums. And you can see there is this deep cavitation around this. Root canals, were once believed to, they're magic. We keep the tooth in your head. We as dentists like to think that we want to save your teeth. But quite frankly, many endodontic procedures result in a source of, they necrose. There are remaining bacteria that have a inflammatory effect that can have serious systemic consequences and have been shown to be harmful systemically, not just in the mouth. So in a 2D X-ray, which is on the upper left, most dentists would look over that and not really be able to see this lesion below, which is a cavitation. Sorry about that. This lesion below, which is a cavitation. I'm trying to take my cursor here, but you can see this area of the third molar that's really just this big hole. On the right, we used to use MRIs. We first started using MRIs to try to see 3D because 2D just doesn't work. But better than MRI is a low radiation CT scan, which is called a cone beam. And this is a cone beam. And we're able to see in 3D. So an X-ray of this incisor in the front, which I'm pointing to here with my cursor, you could see in the cone beam in one angle, you could see this dark area of infection. And to the right, we can actually look in 3D around the end of the tooth and we can see this infection. So 3D cone beam has become the diagnostic gold standard to be able to visibly see what we couldn't see before on 2D. And those are these types of 3D infections, cavitations and failing root canals, failing implants, are all much more easily visible in 3D than 2D. So root canals and jaw infections are now being looked at for people who have chronic Lyme disease. They can't seem to recover. There's a lot of discussion about root canals and hidden jaw infections keeping your Lyme alive because they become an attractive place for a nasty pathogen like a Lyme spirochete to harbor and hide. As a matter of fact, most Lyme disease patients seem to suffer migraine, jaw, head, and neck pain. So we're finding that these Lyme spirochetes have a propensity for harboring in the head and neck. Another very, very big mouth-body connection is the danger of obstructive sleep apnea. This is really a condition that has to do with the airway beginning in the mouth. Many people who have had orthodontics over the years have reduced, and they had teeth extracted to make their teeth straight. The orthodontist has unknowingly made the mouth smaller and restricted the space for your tongue, forcing your tongue to go back. And one of the leading causes of sleep apnea, where you physically stop breathing and your blood oxygen saturation goes way down, is from this obstructed airway in the mouth. The dangers of sleep apnea are extraordinary. There's 25% of middle-aged men have it. They're also nasty snorers. It puts their marriages at risk. But there's diabetes, heart attack, stroke, Alzheimer's disease, memory loss, depression, weight gain. Men and women can't seem to shake weight. They're not breathing at night. 1 in 15 adults have obstructive sleep apnea. 1 in 5 adults and 1 in 15 adults have severe obstructive sleep apnea. 1 in 5 have some range of mild sleep apnea. The startling statistic here is that 75% of these cases are undiagnosed. Cardiologists are beginning to refer patients for sleep studies more because heart disease is so closely connected to this. But fixing it can be right in your mouth. So again, daytime drowsiness. They're actually giving UPS and FedEx drivers sleep studies because they're at greater risk of having an accident. Heart attack, stroke, memory loss, hypertension, insomnia, depression, diabetes, and early death, all at risk from obstructive sleep apnea. People who have obstructive sleep apnea don't produce enough nitric oxide. Here's an interesting tidbit that emerged in a report this morning. Coronavirus can be killed by nitric oxide, which is produced when you breathe through your respiratory canal, which produces nitric oxide, is lethal to coronavirus. So is high-dose vitamin C. So is heat above 78 degrees. We won't go up on that, but I did want you to know that breathing through your nose at night with an open airway is an important part of your body's nitric oxide production. So again, lots of things. I spoke about motor vehicle accidents, reflux, congestive heart failure, impotence, stroke, diabetes, all obstructive sleep apnea related conditions. The conventional treatment, I mean, I'm sure you've heard of CPAP, this forced air. This is treating the symptom and not the cause. It's forcing air, which causes the muscles in your pharynx to enlarge it, like blowing up a balloon. But what happens when you blow up a balloon too many times is the muscles become flaccid, and if you don't wear CPAP, you're at a greater risk of having an apnea that's worse than before you started CPAP therapy. So CPAP is, medicine's way of treating the symptom and not the cause. Certainly not comfortable to wear. Reminds me of that movie Blue Velvet, where I forgot his name. He's wearing that device over his nose. Very bizarre. This is the latest in airway correction. So this is the latest science in airway correction. This is called a DNA appliance. It's an adjustable appliance that the patient patient wears this every 3 to 5 days. It's not a palatal expander for anyone who's had orthodontics, where they rapidly expand the palate. This stimulates stem cells to remodel the jaw so that your airway opens up and there's more room for your tongue. When the airway is narrow, the tongue gets forced back. So this activates stem cells for bone growth and does not cause inflammation the way a rapid palatal expander will. If you look on the left, you have your classic narrow jaw with very high vaulted palate. And so, in the old days, they would take teeth out and try, these teeth would be very crowded in the front. They take teeth out, try and move them around. But what the DNA appliance does, if you look after, is it widens this palate, which allows the tongue to come all the way forward. Your tongue's supposed to rest over your front teeth and touch the roof of your mouth. Tongue tie is another reason for this obstructive sleep apnea. So on the left, look at the airway before the appliance, where down on the bottom here, it's like breathing through a coffee straw. And on the right, you can see the airway enlarged, where proper breathing can occur. These patients in our office that receive this treatment, it's like giving them a whole lease on life. Their whole body changes. They lose weight. Their whole physical strength improves. And they're a lot happier, and so are their spouses and significant others they sleep with. Children, very big problem in children, tongue tie and sleep apnea in children. Research has revealed 80% of these individuals have sleep apnea are unaware, so look at your children. If they're sleeping with their mouth open, if they have a very retreated chin. Bedwetting is very connected to children with sleep apnea. Bedwetting is been very often misdiagnosed as a psychological or readiness problem. There's actually a physical component connected to obstructive sleep apnea. So the way we treat this in our office, there's an initial consultation and screening. We do diagnostic imaging, that's a cone beam. That shows us the airway. And then we'll actually do a sleep study. This sleep assessment is an older system we have. We now have an at-home product that you can wear. And in one night, we know how much you're breathing, how much you're stopping, whether you're snoring. We know what the blood saturation of oxygen is. That a lot of times treatment of this airway health is covered by medical insurance. This is a medical condition of the mouth-body connection. But I'm going to go back to gum disease as the body's #1 source of chronic low-grade inflammation. As a matter of fact, it's on the cover of Time magazine in 2006, talking about the surprising link between inflammation and heart attacks, cancer, Alzheimer's, and everything else that I spoke of. This book by Paul Ewald I read when I did the Harvard program in complementary medicine, and it was on how stealth infections cause cancers and everything else. So this was called Plague Time with so many people. The amount of gum disease out there is astonishing. 80% of you, adults over 35, have some form of gum disease. The link between gum disease to systemic illness varies at thousands and thousands of studies. But the bottom point, #3, past approaches trying to kill all the bacteria in the mouth has been not only ineffectual but harmful. So whether you're using tea tree oil or triclosan, which was recently banned by the FDA as the active ingredient in Colgate Total, whether you're using chlorhexidine or clove oil or peppermint oil or any of these other oils, or xylitol, which they said, oh, it kills Streptococcus mutans bacteria, which cause gum disease. That is not only wrong and ineffectual, but harmful. We'll speak a little bit about that in a moment. But the question is the progression from healthy gums to advanced gum disease. How does this happen? Or another analogy I like is, how does this beautiful brownstone, if those brownstones are your teeth and the alleys in between or what's between your teeth, how does it go from that to that? Is all about this, all about the microbiome. So what's interesting is this ancient relationship of man and microbe that goes back billions of years. A lot of thoughts now, the number of bacteria in and on our bodies is an estimate of 10 times greater than our own human cells. There's way more bacteria in and on our bodies right now. But our actual cells may have once been bacterial in origin. The mitochondrion of our cells, it's believed in a cosmic event, this bacterium became our human cells. Matter of fact, even in that verse in the Bible, Genesis chapter 2, verse 7, God took from the dust of the earth, breathed his spirit into it, we became mind, body, spirit. It wasn't dust. Actually, that word in the ancient Hebrew text and the Aramaic translates from slime. The earth was covered with bacterial slime. And so even the way bacteria divide, the way these mitochondria divide, the same, hold genetic information. So we may be made of microbes. And I have 4 microbiome commandments. One, we're made of microbes. We literally are not only walking bacteria containers in a sense, but our own human cells may have been bacterial in origin. The second commandment, microbes control us, we do not control them. We lost the antibiotic war from the beginning. And every time we thought we had a bigger, better, smarter antibiotic, these bacteria exchange genetic information. They even vote. It's called quorum sensing. They behave like we do. The macrocosmic human behaves like the microcosmic microbe. They exchange genetic information. They mutate. They have taken bacteria off the tusk of a mastodon, frozen in a glacier, put it on a petri dish at body temperature, and they found microbes that were in dormancy actually open and flourish and develop. So these microbes have paid a very high evolutionary price to do what they do and be where they are. And thank God we were not able to kill plaque in our mouths. We tried really hard. Everything was kill plaque, Listerine, kill germs on contact, Colgate Total, kill germs 24 hours a day. Because commandment number 3 is if you go to war with your microbes, you will lose. For everyone on this webinar, there are people sitting in hospitals right now that are sitting ducks, and they are hanging by a thread with not an antibiotic in the world that can fight against the microbes. There are people with coronavirus right now, which is wrecking their immune system, and they are in severe respiratory arrest. So what is the most important commandment is commandment 4. And this goes for anyone who's has a flu, a coronavirus, an infection. I get very frustrated because of the misinformation about this current health emergency, health crisis that we're experiencing right now. The reality is, to stay healthy, we need to make peace with our microbes. And I'm going to show you how we do that. It's one of the most important microbiome commandments is, in the words of Rodney King after the LA riots way back when, he said this guy that basically was a focal, ground zero of all of these riots that went on in Los Angeles in the 80s, got on camera to say one thing. And he said, can't we all just get along? And that's the truth. We need to learn to get along with our microbes, because our microbes keep us alive. They protect us from deadly viruses and bacteria in the environment around us. And the best way that you can fight coronavirus, everyone, is to have a healthy immune system and make peace with your microbes, because they're going to defend you and they're going to protect you. Amen. So let's talk about the oral microbiome. The oral microbiome is essential. A lot of ways we keep this in balance. So balance is that blue circle. And you'll see it's a thin, clear, odorless film. The film to the right is that thick, sticky, smelly stuff you have on your teeth in the morning because you use a detergent toothpaste in the morning. And then by the next morning, you have this thick, smelly film back again. And it gets thicker and thicker the more it's there. And it creates a perfect culture for all kinds of nasties to take root in there, including spirochetes and other things. So how do we stay in balance, or what we call homeostasis? And the reality is, the best way to do that, which I outline in my book, is nutrition is essential. Alkalizing, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant-rich nutrition, which is what NANP is all about, holistic nutrition. Get the garbage out of the trunk and get the junk out of the trunk, the detergent mouthwash, the alcohol mouthwash. Reduce stress. Stress not only causes saliva to dry up, but it causes an imbalance in the microbiome. Stress causes such a huge imbalance in the microbiome. Healthy exercise improves immune system competence and circulatory function, keeps the microbiome healthy, and even improves fluid flow in your teeth. So the important thing to understand from this picture is that the same bacteria in this healthy area over here, which are all kinds of bacteria, including Fusobacterium nucleatum, a commensal bug turned pathogen. So how does it go from good bug to bad bug? Well, in reality, there's no such thing as a good bug or bad bug. There's just bacteria. They behave good, we call those probiotics, and they behave bad, and we call those pathogens, or what I like to say, conbiotics. So the reality is that Fusobacterium nucleatum live in the mouth, but how do they go from this very prevalent community bacteria to a scary thug that's been linked to adverse pregnancy outcomes, GI disorders, cardiovascular disease, rheumatoid arthritis, respiratory infections, Lemierre's disease, and Alzheimer's disease? And the key is, it's all about the terrain. So the naturopaths had it right all along. It's not about the seed, it's about the soil. You keep a healthy terrain, the bacteria stay healthy. They are benign and even beneficial. The bacteria in your mouth, in the oral microbiome, do amazing things. They actually transport minerals from saliva to the surfaces of your teeth. The bacteria in the oral microbiome act as an intelligent, semi-permeable membrane that transports oxygen, molecular oxygen, to the surfaces of the gums and takes waste products and reactive oxidative species away from the gums. So we got to get out of this good guy, bad guy, kill them all mentality, this scorched earth policy. And we have to learn to do organic gardening, because chronic inflammation is the link. This was the 2019 study I was talking about, that chronic inflammation from gum disease is a link to cancer. And the next issue about gum disease that's really, really fascinating is that gum disease is responsible for increasing the costs of the management of people with cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and cerebral vascular conditions from stroke, Alzheimer's, and others. But if we can improve the health of people's mouths, we can reduce healthcare costs by an average of 21%. That translates into reducing costs for diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and heart. These are the most expensive chronic diseases, everyone. We can reduce the cost of that by 21%. This study was done on 145,000 patients at Columbia University, paid for by Aetna Health Insurance, by the way. And it was repeated in Japan with the exact same statistic, 21%. That translates into $750 billion, not billion, $750 billion of savings in our healthcare system. That can make healthcare insurance affordable for everyone and stop the ridiculous onslaught of increasing premiums and just the entire, horrific state of our healthcare system right now. We have to focus on wellness care and not disease care, in my opinion. So improving oral health reduces healthcare costs for the most costly systemic diseases. And how do we do that? We got to get out of the pesticide business, everyone. The Roundup in the mouth was, in my opinion, was triclosan. But just as ravaging that is on the gut microbiome, in the mouth, the pesticides we use in the mouth, and by the way, everyone, charcoal, it's great. It absorbs toxins. I use it when I remove mercury from teeth. I don't want to use it in toothpaste on a daily basis, or in mouthwash, or in anything else, because it strips everything. It strips the microbiome. So if I could just go back very quickly, I'm going to flip back here. I'm right here. If you look on the left, you'll see a desert. On the right, thick, scary jungle. On the left, it's a desert. That's what we call an atrophic microbiome or an atrophic biofilm. And on the right is a hypertrophic. And in the middle, you have microbial homeostasis. We create an atrophic biofilm when we strip the microbiome. So charcoal strips and binds to everything. It binds to the bacteria that can be protecting you. It binds to pathogen, binds to everything. So you don't really want to use charcoal or bentonite clay or antimicrobial oils like tea tree oil, clove oil, cinnamon oil, peppermint oil. These all kill, kill, kill. Remember, make peace with your microbes. So the oral microbiome, we really want to think of as promoting organic gardening in your mouth. So why is there a poison warning on toothpaste? I always get a kick out of this because it's poison. Sodium fluoride, there's enough fluoride in a full-size tube of toothpaste to be fatal to 2 children under 5 if they eat it. How do I know that? Well, in the 1980s, Procter & Gamble launched a product called Crest Sparkle. It was fluorescent blue, bubblegum flavored, and had sparkles in it. Children were eating it. Fluoride fatalities in children went up 280%. Oh yes, if you look carefully, this is what the warning looks like. Keep out of reach of children under 6, more than used for brushing. Is accidentally swallowed, get medical help, or call poison control right away. No, toothpaste should not be poison. You can spend a lot of time talking about fluoride. I know a lot of you are probably well versed in the negative side of fluoride. I mean, fluoride sounded like a good idea when they did the studies. You know, it does to fluorine, which is the actual ion, is a very highly negatively charged ion. And what it does, it displaces the hydroxy ion in hydroxyapatite, which your teeth and bones are made of, and replaces it with fluorine, and it becomes something called fluorapatite, which is very hard and very brittle. But the other things about fluoride are absolutely insane, which is 52 studies or more have already emerged showing that drinking fluoridated water lowers IQ in children. By the way, drinking fluoridated water does nothing to reduce cavities in your teeth. We know that. It's a hoax to throw it in the water supply. It does not reduce decay. We have an epidemic of caries in this country. And we have a corresponding epidemic of children with fluoride damage called fluorosis, which, you know, the American Dental Association tries to say is a cosmetic defect. But I will tell you that it also makes teeth more prone to decay, the very thing they were given a toxic chemical to prevent. So most dentists and dental hygienists and everyone have been very myopic, and I would even say some are brainwashed to think that fluoride's the best thing since sliced bread. You can't have healthy teeth without fluoride. That is a complete fallacy. You can have perfectly healthy teeth without fluoride if you have good nutrition, if your microbiome is in balance. So it's really about, it's the microbiome, stupid. And the microbiome in your mouth, when it's in balance, actually helps remineralize your teeth, the very thing we were thinking fluoride would be a good thing for. The problem is that all of the research that's emerged right now, in my opinion, and I've looked at it all, is irrefutable. There's a decrease in bone density and strength. We know that by 30-some-odd%. Autoimmune disease, cognitive decline, increased risk of cancer. These are all studies documenting this about fluoride. This was a report that came out about triclosan. And, you know, this was back a number of years ago. Finally, the FDA banned triclosan and Colgate Total. But, you know, I saw this ad, there's my Bitmoji again, that Colgate Total eliminates 15 times more bacteria to improve the health of your mouth. Well, that's not true. These bacteria are keeping us alive. It's not about killing them all. And Colgate knows this. They know better. It's not about kill, kill, kill. It's about making peace with our microbes. I developed and introduced this. I spent 10 years researching the microbiome, putting together a prebiotic formulation. This is a product that promotes microbial homeostasis. It's basically, I think this is the perfect product for the NANP because it's all about nutrition. And this product is more a dietary supplement with CoQ10, vitamin C, D3, K2, E, MSM, as well as a blend of microminerals in a natural and organic base. So I just wanted something good that people could use, and I started to do research on it. And the research started about 10 years ago or 12 years ago. I started doing research on this. The first study we did, 7 days, there was a 26% reduction in gum inflammation. 7 days. Colgate Total was reporting a reduction of gum inflammation. In 12 weeks, that was only 22%. In 7 days, we were more than 3 months. So then we went to do another study in Italy, and this was with a group of very nice young Italian dentists. It was a blind clinical study with Crest Pro Health, and we found gum stop bleeding right away, 72% reduction. This is 14 days versus Crest Pro Health, which was 12% reduction of plaque. There's nothing really magic, and I feel like I'm doing shameless self-promotion here. But what I really want you to be aware of is if we can change the consumer products, consumer care products we use, we can have healthier bodies. And if I can help in some way give you a healthy mouth, then that will indeed be a major component of having a healthy body. So I always like to think there's nothing really ultra brilliant about what Revitin is all about, other than it respects the microbiome. You need to respect the microbiome. So this was 4 days before and after, 4 days of just using a product that respects the microbiome in 4 days. I get a real kick, and we're almost at the end of our talk, but I got a real charge out of this. This was a gentleman who was at a chiropractor's meeting that I was speaking at, and he came up to me in June and said, this report was from June 17th, and he was around June 30th. He'd just gone to his dentist. His dentist said he had to do gum surgery. His gums were bleeding, da-da-da. He asked for this Revitin. And 3 months later, he was down at another conference I was giving in Georgia for the same group down in Atlanta, and came running up to me with these papers in his hands. On the left of is his periodontal chart from June, where his dentist said he needed gum surgery, and on the right, basically he had two teeth that had a little bit of bleeding, but his gum pockets all went to normal levels, and he was amazed. So I wrote a HIPAA release on a Marriott hotel napkin, and I took his picture with my phone, and I took pictures of the periodontal records that he gave me before and after there, and I said, proof is in the pudding. So I want to just finish by saying the 5 steps that you can take to biohack your body through your mouth. Step 1, I want everyone here, if you haven't, get a cone beam scan and a sleep study. These are 2 things you might not have had, and they're really important for overall health and wellness. We do virtual consults in our office here. I'm more than happy to read your cone beam. Many dentists are not really trained in reading these. Many dentists don't have these. By the way, a lot of oral surgeons have these. We have these in our office. We have a cone beam in our office in New York. One of the things that we can do is we can set up a Zoom meeting. There's a new HIPAA compliant virtual software where we can consult, but get a cone beam and a sleep study. There's portable sleep studies now. You can just wear them home. We can send you one from our office if you want, but it's important to know A, do you have any stealth infections? And B, are you breathing? You want to remove infected root canals, toxic, non-biologic fillings. These are mercury fillings. These are composite fillings that have bisphenols, BPA composite, which is bis-GMA resin. And you want to treat jaw cavitations. They are a source of chronic inflammation as well. You want to treat any airway deficiency, any airway health deficiency. In our office, we sort of prioritize get out any infected teeth, clean up the metals, clean up any BPAs, get the teeth and the bite restored properly, then treat the airway. You want to support your immune system before, during, and after dental treatments. This is really important. We use glutathione and activated charcoal. In this case, activated charcoal is great when you're doing mercury cleanup and using it, cleaning up mercury throughout the entire digestive tract in this cleanup process. But we want to support your immune system. We use IV vitamin C drips. We can prescribe an entire regimen and also make sure your immune system is competent to receive treatment. And finally, avoid harsh, natural, or chemical-containing toothpaste and mouthwashes. And this is the best way. You biohack your mouth, biohack your body, biohack the world. We'll do it together. And you can't ignore that 800-pound gorilla. Thank you very much. And I think we're going to take questions. Andrea?
Yeah, that was absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much. Yeah, that was really great. We got a couple questions. Yes. So what about plastics in mouth guards like Invisalign?
So Invisalign uses, that's an excellent question, by the way. I get asked that all the time. There are some plastics that are not good. These are BPA plastics. And there are some other monomers and plastics and methacrylates that I don't recommend. Invisalign happens to have a patented material that's a nylon. It's a nylon. I mean, obviously, you're wearing them for a finite period of time. They're not staying in your mouth forever. You can take them out. You should keep them clean. But it's a good question because some plastics are worse. Those are the BPA, obviously the BPA-containing plastics, which many older, anyone here has tooth-colored fillings over 4 years ago, there wasn't really any bis-GMA-free tooth-colored filling materials. So you want to probably get a look at that. The other harmful ones are the methacrylates.
Okay, and then I think we know the answer to this, but Revitin, can it benefit sensitivity and receding gums?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because what you don't want to do with sensitivity and receding gums is, and that's another very, very good question. Why do you get gum recession? Why do you get receding gums and the corresponding sensitivity? So receding gums can be caused by either malalignment of the teeth, or it can be caused by gum disease. Your gums get inflamed. The second stage of that inflammation is bone resorption. The bone around the teeth resorbs. And then the gums, your body's trying to heal itself, the gums shrink back down to the level of the bone. It's not like the gums mysteriously just shrink down. You have to lose bone. So you lose bone by malalignment of the teeth. You lose bone around your teeth from gum disease. So the way what Revitin does is it works on reducing the inflammation, stopping the bone. It's a sensitivity, by the way, happens because the roots of your teeth don't really have protective enamel. They have something called cementum, which wears up very quickly. But then you're left with this porous material called dentin, which communicates with the nerves. We also give people ozone treatment around the teeth to stop sensitivity. But Revitin works very well at reducing inflammation and helping the teeth remineralize. Remember, I spoke about a healthy microbiome will actually take ionic minerals from saliva. This includes phosphorus and calcium. And actually the bacteria, this is the fascinating thing, because when I was in dental school, I was taught the bacteria cause tooth decay and gum disease. Now I know that when the microbiome is imbalanced, the bacteria are actually assisting with the remineralization of your teeth and the constant mineralization that occurs. So that's another important thing. And so Revitin, many people report their sensitivity goes away, and I think it's because it supports a healthy microbiome, which in turn supports these healthy functions of remineralization and reduction of inflammation that occurs from gum disease.
Okay, fantastic. And then if we suspect cavities, is it worth seeking out a dentist with a specific model cone beam device? So in other words, are all cone beam scan devices made equal?
And these are great questions. So there are many different types of cone beams out there. There's about 15 different cone beams. You want one that can read the airway. There's a company, there's Plan Mecca. We have the Sirona machine. The Sirona Orthophos, that's a very good one. Sirona Orthophos. Plan Mecca is a good one. Couple of the others, I'm trying to think, Carestream. Can't think of many more offhand, but those are the biggest. There's the iCat. iCat is another one. These will all do basically the same thing. They'll be enabled me to see the jaw in 3 dimensions and be able to read that. The caution to everyone out there is most dentists have never been trained in what cavitations are. Incidentally, everyone who's listening, the reason why cavitation is being talked about so much right now is because with 3D technology, we're seeing them. And doctors who are trained in being able to read a cone beam for cavitations are talking about it. The term cavitation goes back to 1931. It was coined by an orthopedic surgeon who was dissecting a human jaw and found these caves or holes of bone in the human jaw. So you hear it talked about more now because the technology is there to see it. The other important thing is that most dentists don't know how to diagnose or treat these. And so, I'm actually in the process, Andrea, of doing these training programs to train dentists to read cone beam, to train dentists to treat cavitations with a protocol that I developed using a laser instead of a dental drill. And we use things like PRF and stem cells. And that's another whole talk I could do on that.
Well, that sounds fantastic. Yes, we've got a question here about dental flossing. What do you think about that?
Okay. Actually, Dr. Oz had me on the Dr. Oz show to talk about that a while back. So the story with flossing is, there's nothing magical about flossing other than it fits between your teeth, and you can use it like a lasso around the adjacent teeth to break up accumulated plaque and food debris that lays between your teeth. So other people like to use brushes, these little proxy brushes. There are little rubber tips that can go between your teeth. You can even use pelu bark. The point is, as I said on Dr. Oz, the important point is not what you're using, but that you're getting in there adequately and properly to debride the area so that the microbiome can stay healthy. So I compared it to this. I said, Dr. Oz, not removing interproximal debris between your teeth is like a New York City side street in the summertime with the garbage on the street. Eventually it'll start to smell and then the rats come out. And that's what kind of happens. We find that a lot of gum disease starts interproximally because it's like a little hiding place between the teeth.
Okay, right. So we definitely want to take care of that.
Yeah.
We definitely do. And where can we purchase Revitin toothpaste?
Oh, you can go to revitin.com.
Revitin.com. Right. And we'll send that in the link with the email as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's a great nutritional product for all of your nutritional clients. It's like the missing link. If you're working on fixing their gut, if you're working on improving their nutrition, nutrition starts with what they're sticking in their mouth, of course.
Right. No, that's fantastic. Well, this brings us almost to the top of the hour. I want to thank you so much. We will be sending the recording out tomorrow, along with links to, many of the things that you've spoken about today. I want to thank you. This has been really fantastic. And so I want to thank everybody and to say that next month, our guest presenter will be Dr. Beverly Ryder, presenting hives, headache and heartburn, how to heal your histamine hangover. So everybody, please mark your calendars for Thursday, April the 9th. Until then, everybody, have a great rest of your day. Thank you, Dr. Curatola. That was fantastic.
My pleasure, Andrea.
Thank you.